Well, we're glad to have you here, Carly. Today is a very special episode of the Simulation Pulse Live here with Carly Brady and Bill Ballo from Madison College. Carly's going to be our special guest today, and she's a very interesting and exciting guest to have on because she brings a perspective that we don't often get to hear, and it's that sort of the operational level of how do you make a VR lab, how do you make an XR center work, and following Carly's story all the way from I was at a conference and I saw somebody talk about virtual reality and I thought it was cool, all the way to there's a fully functioning XR center that Bill is managing, it's running, it's growing, it's succeeding, and we get to see that success cycle. So any stories, any insights, anything at all that we can talk about today, I think is going to be very valuable and exciting for anybody watching. So very glad to have you here. I didn't mean to miss you, Rick. This is Rick Castile, our customer experience specialist here at Acadicus, and I'm John Brucho. But we want to hear from Carly today, so I'll let you kind of tell us a little bit of the progress since the last time you were on. You've been a frequent guest on the Pulse, so we've heard a few episodes and kind of progress along the way. But how are things going now?
Things are going great. Bill is doing an amazing job keeping the XR Center busy enough that we have a request in to expand and take over the classroom next to the existing XR Center. So I have diligently been spending the last 9 months trying to get the money to get that expansion. And I was actually just in a meeting this morning. Um, Bill, unfortunately, we probably won't hear until February or March whether or not that's going to move forward. But I continue to put up the good fight and have the request in, and excited for that, and hoping to get also Bill some extra set of hands. Hopefully, maybe this coming summer, so that he's not the only one, and he supports all of our other campuses as well, as you guys know. So, hoping that we can just kind of keep building up that capacity and making the case for why they should go ahead and give us that other classroom.
Yeah. Well, I think what your answer to that question is a perfect, I think, example of what makes you such a strong leader in this space is like you set it up where you're like, we want to expand. And you make the presentation to the people that can make that decision. You build the case for it. You may or may not get that to happen, but like your persistence in building those things, I think, is the key from an operational perspective. Because, like, from my perspective, not being in that kind of a role, when I hear something like, "Yeah, there's probably not going to be a space for you to expand into," I'm just okay, fine, that's what we're going to do. But your attitude is very much about like, no, we need to build this, and you keep on presenting more evidence, and you're not trying to just demand that you get your way. You're building an argument for it. You're presenting an argument for it, and facts and data. Now you have surveys and you have, the information that you need to build a case that this is working really well. And so that's a great example of the kind of persistence it takes, I think, to build this stuff, because not everybody's familiar with it. Still, to
Oh yeah.
this day, a lot of people are still kind of learning. So to keep that patient persistence like growing, I really appreciate that about your style and leadership.
I don't know about the patience, but the persistence.
So you started off with a pretty small program. I mean, we've talked about this before with Bill too, where it was like a few laptops and you're taking them around, and then you're building out a smaller space and then expanding into the bigger space. So now Bill gave us a tour. So if anybody's watching this and hasn't seen a tour of the XR Center at Madison College, go back and watch the episode with Bill, kind of showing around and how the space works and how the debriefing area works. And that's a great episode. Bill gave us a tour of that. As from your perspective, kind of what's the lay of the land in terms of what you're hearing from people at the college in terms of the success of the XR Center or the use of it? What are some of the stories that are coming out of it?
Bill, you want to take that one?
Sure. Uh, you know, Ever expanding. And what happens, interestingly, is we'll have people that talked to us a couple of years ago, and they're kind of like, "Oh, well, I don't know, we don't know," and or they'll try a product out, and I'll have them demo it at the center, and they'll, I'm not sure, and then all of a sudden they'll pop back in, and we just had that happen with Surge Tech, where They kind of tried some things out. They looked at some off-the-shelf stuff, those kind of things, looking at mainly just using our hardware for their needs and purchasing a software or whatnot. And now they've kind of, and they looked at the software. They're like, I don't know, that's not so great. And so they've kind of come back again. And I just had them in yesterday at the XR Center, and we went through like, here are some possibilities. Here are some ideas. What I always do is I get somebody in a headset. As soon as you get them in a headset, they have all kinds of great ideas. And
Hmm.
that's exactly what happened yesterday. Got them in a headset, and it was like, now the ideas start flowing. Rick, you will hear about them very soon because we may be working together on seeing if we can develop some of this stuff right off the bat, just to be able to use it for next semester. So
Fantastic.
um, so yeah, some really really just fun stuff. And it's for me, it's just all about continuing to keep the program moving along, and to expand it to other um, uh, to other academic programs, so to speak. So because we'll have some that they're a little heavier on VR maybe in the fall, and they're not so heavy on VR in the spring, or whatever it may be. And we got to keep the lights on, we got to keep the doors open, we got to keep people coming in. So that's the way to go. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I know, just remembering from firsthand experience, initially you were very Acadicus centered. Like there was a lot of use of Acadicus, but then you expanded beyond that. And you started using other programs, other applications. What are some of those other use? Obviously, I'm drinking the Acadicus Kool-Aid here, but I think for Acadicus to work, I think organizations that are working with us have to identify what you've done. Where like Acadicus is great for medical and healthcare type simulations, but if you want to do like language learning, or you want to do something with automotive that we don't have a lot of content for, there's a lot of great content out there. And if you're going to invest in building an XR center, the last thing you want to do is say, we're only going to use one software package. Like, we don't want that. We want to see you expanding. And that's something Madison College, I think, has done really well. What was the last count of like 28? How many programs?
31, and now
31 now. Wow.
if I'm counting Surge Tech, it's now 32.
32 programs. And
Yeah.
obviously they're not all using Acadicus. So like what are some of the other kind of areas of interest that are kind of rising
Yeah.
up?
Actually, I'm gonna bring up the list of programs that we use. So that'll take me just a second. But
But while
um,
Bill is doing that, can I
yeah.
ask, so Carly, so from your perspective, what was some of the direction that went into it, that expansion into those other programs? Was that always kind of an idea from the beginning to have like a library of different applications? Kind of what was some of the thinking that went into building out that the library of platforms that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started with the Catechist and we'll always hopefully be partners with the Catechist, but like you said, it's not made to teach people how to speak English or learn Spanish. And so, what we always do is if we have someone come to us with an idea or a discipline, I first send Bill out and I say, go find something, go see what's out there, go see if anything exists. And typically, if it doesn't, we do come back to a catechist. But it's not made for everything. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of companies that are coming out kind of the woodwork now in totally different areas of virtual reality. Um, It'll be interesting, I think, to see what other companies come up, and also it's always curious about the pricing.
Mhm.
That's that's always kind of where Bill and I are like, is
Yeah.
that worth it? I mean, some of them are outrageously expensive,
Right.
that we have to, apply for grants because we certainly cannot afford to do it. But then there are others that are dirt cheap or free even, and so yeah, I think we want to just continually build and grow and see what's out there and have the best of the best for the disciplines that we're serving at Madison College.
Yeah, I'll share my screen if that's okay, and show you the list of programs. Now it's expanded since, but I'll still bring this up. This is a list of programs, and then along with it, um, some of the software that's been used as well. I always say Catechus is the rock. right? So they're the foundation because what I always tell people is if anything else, right? If all the other things that I use or whatever they don't work out the way that I expect them to, I can always go back to Acadicus. If I have somebody coming in for a demo and they just want to see something about VR and they want some information, some knowledge, those kind of things, um, I I can default to that. I can always show them all these other things, but I can always go back and default to Acadicus so that they can see, what is possible in VR. So obviously you can see Acadicus runs pretty heavy in all of our programs, and some of these overlap, and there's both, but so Transfer VR is a like a career services, career exploration. It's pretty neat. It's a really great program, and our academic advancement, our career services marketing are using that. Chief Architect. So here's another thing, right? So you're looking at programs. You've got Acadicus. That's your foundation. You then build off of that, and you go into, hey, what's out there for off the shelf stuff that I can just buy, but you also look at what things am I already using in my programs that have a VR connector. Chief Architect is one of those. For interior design architecture, you can use VR with it. Revit. Revit's another one that a lot of our programs already use. Our architecture program already uses that. So we just go to Revit and we can use Revit in the VR world. And so then I just work with the subject matter expert as to how are we going to use it and how are we going to incorporate it in your class. Immerse Me for language learning. That's been really highly loved by our Spanish program. Blender. Blender's got a VR connection, right? And architecture's already using it. 3D Art's already using it. So we just kind of piggyback on that. SolidWorks already being used by mechanical and electrical engineering. So what do? We just learn a little bit about SolidWorks and how does it connect to 3D, and then we work it from there. 3D art class, open brush, and gravity sketch. These are also some of my kind of go-to when I want like fun in VR. I let them use gravity sketch and open brush. Roboco, we were just kind of previewing. We haven't really been using that. Z Space HVAC is using currently. They really seem to like it, but it's not like headset VR. It's not immersive. Curio, this is one of the ones that Carly talked about, free, right? Like we don't have to pay up front. And so that's where some of our other programs are connected with that. CDC has their own biotech lab that you can download onto your headsets. And you don't even need to use Wi-Fi with it. You can download it directly onto your headset, and then everybody can try it out. Body swaps is something we're previewing currently. Intramural sports, we're using Golf Plus. This has been really great. Like, yeah, it's been so much fun. And we have the program. We went and we purchased the program for 4 different accounts, and now we have 4 accounts that can play golf together. National Geographic Explorer VR, that was another one of my Spanish instructors. And then we have team building stuff that we use. These are the games that we use for team building. So that's a pretty good list, not completely comprehensive because there are still a few things that we can, use connection to, and we're always looking for new ideas and new programs and that kind of stuff. So what I always tell people is start your foundation with a catechist, especially in your medical programs. That's a great way to start your foundation, but then expand out from there and start looking at some of this other stuff. So anyway, I've talked long enough. I'm gonna shut up now.
No, I appreciate that, Bill. That was great. That's super valuable. I think other people watching this, if you've got an XR center and you've got the hardware, you've made that investment, you absolutely should be looking at all the applications available out there. And I think there's several index or library sites that have a whole. I think Robert from Georgian College might have a list. Yep. Where it's like all ed tech VR apps. So
it's an overwhelming list.
It's an overwhelming. Yeah. It's very intimidating. Yeah.
It's huge. I have it pulled up now. I think if I scroll down, I'm at 486. He's got it listed. And then there's a separate list for other things. 360 videos and spatial and mixed. And yeah, I mean, he's got over 500 different apps listed.
That's incredible.
Has he vetted those?
Specialty.
Does anyone know, does he vet those or does he just add to that list?
I think he just adds.
I think
I'm
he just
not.
adds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Georgia and I know they use a lot of off the shelf stuff. So they do a lot of off the shelf purchase. They also contract out with developers to develop certain things within. I know he's using Engage VR more than anything else.
Hmm.
I took his class this past semester. So
Oh, I did it about a year ago.
did
Yeah.
you? Yeah, yeah. And it very heavy on Engage. Really
Yep.
likes Engage. I agree. I think it's really neat. And that was like the big, I think of the 6 weeks we had, four of them we met in Engage, you know. So
So let me throw something out to you, Carly and Bill. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about Engage, much like Acadicus, right? Those, I like to call those platforms where you can kind of build things you want that we may not have already created for you, right? So there's scenes and scenarios that we couldn't even imagine that you might want to create, for an EMS class or a nursing class, that you have the tool sets to do that. But then there are the kind of off the show, Golf Plus. You're going to go in, you're going to choose a course and you play that course, right? You don't build in it.
right.
And do you find that I mean that's one of your decision points, I would imagine, in terms of what you're looking for a specific class is, hey, is this something that I really need to customize because I need to show very specific elements of it, or is it something that I just need to have the students put the headset in and go do something? Are those critical factors in deciding kind of how you move forward with a certain application?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I want to know is how are faculty planning on using it in their class, right? Is this going to be something we're going to do every week for 8 weeks? Or is this something we're going to do one time and the students are going to get this cool experience? If I wanted to bring a bunch of students to Washington, D.C. to see all the monuments in Washington, D.C., right? Because it's part of their history or social studies class or whatever it may be. Um, that's really easy to do, like a one time, that's it, right? I load a 360 video or whatever it may be on Arbor XR. It's now deployed to all my headsets. Now they can put the headset on, they can go and explore it. Easy. Where it's a little more complicated is sustaining it over a longer period within a class, like making it part of your class. I applaud people like Carolina Bailey. Carolina is our Spanish teacher, and actually, we should have her on at one point.
Yeah.
We should talk to her about that because she's just great, just fantastic, and she's made it part of the course rather than we're going to have a one-time experience and then we're going to move on. Um, I think making it part of your course is what's going to make it more sustainable, and then you're going to go back and say, "Hey, here's our return on investment." So,
And that's a good point, Bill. I mean, if we don't go and search out virtual reality products necessarily, but if someone brings something to us, we're not going to invest in it unless they're invested in it, right? So like Carolina had this great idea and okay, but are you going to use it? And she was committed. And so then we get committed too, but like that Roboco, that they approached us, they're a local company and really, really wanted to get in with our robotics program. And our robotics instructors are just like not interested. So we're not going to purchase Roboco if we don't have a solid use case at Madison College for it, regardless of the price.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Taking things in a little bit of a different direction, I'm wondering your role at the college, Carly. How has there been an effect on your position, your role, your sort of responsibilities as a result of the development of the XR Center? I mean, because I guess where I'm coming at this from is, we meet with a lot of colleges all over the country, right? And I can tell you firsthand that all of them wish they had a Carly. And very few of them have a Carly. And it makes me nervous when I get on a call with a college that doesn't have a Carly on their team, because I know that it's going to be very difficult to make this happen. You need to have somebody who believes in it, So I wonder if Madison College knows how valuable you are in that capacity. I mean, maybe I should say that. I don't want to, but I mean, just speaking from my heart, I mean, I can tell you that's true. So has your position changed as a result of the success that the XR Center is seeing? Like, do you see there being kind of momentum? Yeah. See, I think it's the college level. They need to see so then it's about continuing to build the case, right? So you're still building the case. So in the process of building that case, then what kinds of things do they need to see? What are you looking for from the XR Center, from Bill, from the students, from the faculty? What kind of information are you looking at to be able to continue to build that case? Because obviously, and I don't think it's nothing against, like, Madison College is no different than any of the other organizations we're talking to. They all are still trying to discover and learn this. So what do we need to show them to help them understand?
That's a great question, John. I feel like we've done a really good job of showing. But we have a new president. She just started this past summer, and one of her big initiatives is completion, and also a phrase that she uses called stickiness. Like, how can we make students feel attracted to Madison College, and that they belong, and that they, what's the stickiness? And so I actually had a meeting with a guy on Bill and I's team. He's our director of our simulation center, so our mannequin-based simulation for healthcare. And he has been exploring success rates of classes in the health area that are using simulation or not using simulation, to see if there's any correlation in success. And he was looking at a health program, and he noticed that they had a very high rate of failure in one of their, it's a cardiac respiratory class. And students are just really not, because you can't look inside that's very abstract. But this class is in the second semester of a 2-year program, and they have to pass this class to move on. So these students who are failing this class cannot move on. So they're gone. They're done. They're not completing. So Bill and I have talked, and we've reached out to the program director, like, hey, we think we have an idea. We think we should leverage virtual reality to help your students understand these concepts. And so we're hoping, and we would use Acadicus for that. We're hoping that we can do like a small little kind of research study and see if we can't move that needle on the success rates of this one class that is not allowing students to complete. And so I think if we can even just get one story like that, I think that's going to help move us forward, and bringing it to light that, like, oh, these aren't just goggles and lightsabers. Like, oh, this is actually having an impact. So I think Bill and I are kind of trying to look for those scenarios a little bit more now too. Just like, we know it works, it works, but we need that proof. Yeah. I think to really sell it to the upper admin at Madison College.
Absolutely. So identifying a gap, like a very clear gap, like, and that there's a big problem there, and this can be a solution, an antidote to that problem, and then you can measure that outcome and demonstrate that efficacy. I think that's brilliant. I hope that works. I think that's exactly what people need to see is the data. Yeah. They need to see the efficacy, and that's the language of higher ed in general. It's like they don't just try new things because it's cool. It's got to have some data behind it, and I think generating that and proving that is going to be super helpful for sure.
Yeah, so we're excited about that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and Bill's excited because it has to deal with the heart. So,
yeah, you're solving a problem rather than looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Right.
Yeah.
It can't just be about gee whiz tech.
No.
It's like And student engagement, can be impacted by using something like VR. But again, there's got to be some problem you're solving with it.
Absolutely.
Certainly get a leg up when you can show that there's efficacy in utilizing it that way.
Yep.
Well, I know
Yeah, I even
we're,
said today when Carly and I first talked about it, I was like, how do I not know about this? You know, like, and that's the thing. We have to get that information to be able to then go, okay, let's help solve that problem. Because I'm like, how do I not know about this? Like, I'm the cardiac guy. Like, how do I not know what's going on? You know, and then what way can we help? What way can we get in there? Can we help? And you know, like Carly said, with the new president, one of her things be the stickiness and the completion. You know, it's so disheartening for a student when they get into a program and they're excited about it and they're ready to go and they're like, "Hey, man, this is great. I'm going to do this." And then they get into semester 2 or 3 or whatever it may be, and you know, they hit this wall and they start feeling like I'm a failure, you know? And I mean, this is what happened to me when I first started going to college, you know, 10 years at the 2 year college, I finally got my degree. But that was what it was for me. Like I just kept hitting walls everywhere and stepping on rakes and you know, I feel bad for students that are in that situation and I understand where Dr. Byrne is coming from and saying we need to help with completion. Yeah, totally. And I think this is great. I got so excited when Carly and I talked about it today. Like this is so fantastic. Like this is it. This is something we need to make sure we get in and help out with, and
Yeah.
you know, and get these students to that goal that they're looking for. So
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I remember Mitch Luker talked a lot about that too in a past episode. Those sort of like there's a lot of effort that goes into getting the students recruited into the program, and there's a lot of there's a lot of marketing efforts, and obviously that's a huge thing. But there is also this gap where the students get into the program, they're halfway through, there's something challenging them, they get stuck, and if they drop out, all of that has been lost, right? They're
Yeah.
not going to complete it, and so maybe VR can be a way to help kind of ease that or facilitate that to make that a little bit more higher success rate. So for sure. And that's another where that, place where virtual reality, I think the ability to customize and create content is really important in that way, because
Mhm.
if you've got some gap, there's probably going to be some level of specificity to it. Like it's a very specific problem that they're trying to solve, and you're probably not going to be able to go down the app market of all those 500 apps and say,
Right.
is there a VR app that solves this one specific chapter of this one program of the curriculum? It's not going to be there, but you can, hopefully go into a program like Acadicus and just kind of build a scene, change some values, build whatever you need to be able to accommodate that. And so it does kind of fit nicely into that, where there's the standalone packages that just do things off the shelf, but then the other more malleable solutions that can integrate into the midterm of a semester like that to help along as needed.
And there may even be
Absolutely.
programs like that that are out there to help with that specific thing you're looking for. But then you find that the cost of it, you go, okay, it's not so bad. It's $25 for this app, but then scale that. So now you're talking about for 50 students, or maybe you're just putting it on 20 of your headsets. That's still relative. That's still a good amount of money that you're trying to find then in your budget to get that and to do it. Where, like you said, with Acadicus, I can go and I can create some of these things, or I can have some of these things created that I need. And instead of like, well, I need to solve this problem with, ventilation and perfusion mismatch in cardiology. Well, I have something that will show me ventilation perfusion mismatch. But then I also have a problem with, my students understanding the correct blood flow through the heart and how it affects the different nodes of the heart or whatever it may be. Well, now I got to find a standalone for that, and it's sometimes it is so hard to find a platform that can incorporate all of that, and that's why something like a catechus, where I can grab that heart and I can use that and I can explain all of those things I need to explain in a relatively easy and not time consuming or budget consuming manner.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, the early days in healthcare when technology was just taking off. We had this application creep, right? You had the ER buying their application, and radiology bought their application, and respiratory bought their application. And then over a few years, right, then there's the desire that the departments talk to each other. Well, the ER didn't talk to respiratory, didn't talk to radiology, didn't talk to the lab. And so, there was this huge effort to get everybody on the same platform so that there was this interconnectedness, right? And that's what I feel like Acadicus does. And Bill, what you were describing, right? Well, I don't maybe have to go out and buy another one if I know I have the platform like Acadicus where I build that out, right? I don't have to go buy
Exactly.
a platform or an application that's going to teach my respiratory therapy program because, hey, my nursing program already has a catechus, and I know I have the assets that I can transfer over to respiratory to teach them what they need to know about, ventilation perfusion.
Hmm. Yep.
And so that,
Totally.
again, that's where you get into this decision point about, do I build or do I buy? Right? If I have the platform to build and the skill set to build, like you said earlier, John, if I have a Carly and I have a Bill, then I know I have, the beginnings of being able to create it versus I have to buy it for every single need. Right? And then
Yeah.
I have all these silo apps.
Right.
Uh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And eventually you're going to get to the point where, your headset's going to be full. Right? The headset's going to be like, sorry, you only got the 256 gig version. Now you need to go and upgrade to a 512. Like, and that just adds to your problems. And that's one of the reasons I really like PCVR. I am a big advocate for PCVR, because I think there are definitely some major advantages to PCVR. I don't have a terabyte or 2 terabytes of space on my headset, but I can easily put that on my desktop computer or my laptop computer. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
there's some new hardware coming out too. New PC VR hardware from Steam. There's a Steam Deck and a
Yes.
new VR headset that they're coming out with. That's
Excited to see about
PC. It's
that.
going to be
Yeah.
PC VR. It's going to have the horsepower of a dedicated, PC, but also mobile, just like the Quest. So it's great. I think that was a really exciting thing for me to see that people still believe in PC VR. It's not going away. You
Yeah.
see everybody. At one point there was a little insecurity, like, oh, the headsets are going to go mobile, and Acadicus is the only PC VR platform. But we've really stuck to our story about we need the horsepower of that graphics card, and it still continues to be true. We can do things other platforms can't do as a result of that.
Yep.
It can be a limitation. You definitely need to have that computer connected. But now we're seeing a lot of applications coming out that use PC VR. It's not that uncommon at all. It's becoming increasingly common over time. Once people have those standalone headsets and they see what the graphics are like, and then they connect it to a PC and everything is way higher fidelity, it
Yeah.
doesn't take long to convince people. Just get connected to a PC, then you can have some really high fidelity VR experiences for sure.
Well,
it's
and
better. Oh,
not only that, John, but one thing that we're big about at Madison College is accessibility. And so what I love about PC VR is if a student can't go in a headset, we can still give them an experience
Mhm.
on the computer. With the standalone, what's the alternative?
Isn't
There
one.
isn't one.
it's
Yeah.
Yep.
not there.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect because I was just thinking it's much better for your universal design for learning.
Yeah.
Like yeah. And I mean, you can even in many cases access it from home. Most people have a computer where you can access non-VR in Acadicus from home. And if they don't, you can put it on your VPN, and there's all kinds of different ways to do it. And yeah, totally, completely.
One of the things I want to talk a little bit about going forward is the desire to connect with other colleges in Wisconsin. It's one of the things that, Madison College has been really leading the way in a lot of ways in the integration and adoption of XR. And there's a lot of other colleges that are coming on board. Some of them are just very recently coming on board. And, we've been talking about within the state of Wisconsin, there's a consortium of technical colleges, and many of them are using Acadicus. And looking to sort of build that community, and wonder if you had any thoughts about, how important is that community? How important is it to connect to other schools that are using it, to share resources, compare notes, to have that sense of, hey, we're all in this together. What are you doing? Like, I use this new program. What about that? Or I built this scene and I can share it with you. Or, how does that look going forward?
I would love to see that going forward, to be honest with you. So far, we haven't really. I mean, Bill, you kind of have, um, you had that little community that I presented at last year, but she left, right, at Western?
Jamie,
Jamie,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
That yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
one of the roadblocks we run into. Yeah,
Yeah. But no, I would love to. I mean, we just had someone reach out to us from one of the other technical colleges, and uh, he reached out to me. He had seen something on your website and asked, how did you do it? And how did you get your faculty trained? And I said, that's the key. You don't need to train your faculty. You shouldn't try to train your faculty because you will fall flat on your face every time. Guarantee it. You need a bill.
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Yep.
And
Well,
I would tell that to every single person, no matter how big or small their college is. If you just buy a catechist and you think that your nursing faculty who think that they're strapped already are going to learn how to, no,
Yeah.
no.
no, you're done.
It's
Yeah,
true.
don't even.
You just
Yep,
wasted your money.
yep.
It's true. And then, if you do find a faculty member that's like really excited about it, that's awesome. And
Oh
getting them
yeah.
going is awesome. It's great. But most of the time, they're going to stay right in that nursing lane. They may branch out a little bit to EMS. They may branch out a little bit to, but many of them are going to stay right in that nursing lane. And then you're purchasing something specifically for nursing when the truth is you can use it for almost any program in your college in some way, shape, or form. There's going to be some way, shape, or form that you can use it, and you're sort of limiting yourself. And then, if you really want virtual reality to take off, you've got to start looking at other options as well. I always come back to a catechus as my rock, as my foundation. I always think there first. Is that something that I can do in a catechus? Yes, then let's do it in a catechus. No, then let's look at what else we have to go to.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, as we look at even integration of Acadicus into some hospital systems, it's the same thing where it's like we see physicians who are like highly educated, highly experienced intensivists, and they're like single-handedly running their XR program.
Mhm.
It's like, wait a minute, you're the last person in this entire building that should be trying to figure out how to update your graphics card because you have a simulation coming up. You need somebody to help you. Like, it's not, it's a matter of time. They believe in it. They're evangelists. They're very excited about it. They're where you guys were a few years ago. But I think hospitals are way behind higher ed in that way. I think they're still very slowly adopting it. But yeah, and I think kind of full circle back to, again, singing the praises of Carly's leadership. I hope I'm not, embarrassing you too much, but it's really well deserved. And I think anybody who's watched the episodes and your progression over time would agree with that. But one of the things I'm noticing even in this call is you notice that Carly is deferring to Bill. Like, she trusts Bill. She's really kind of given him a lot of opportunity to build this XR center, and she trusts her team, and she trusted me early on. And it was a little scary because it's like I didn't want to disappoint. Like, I wanted to make sure we're going to build this thing, and we had a lot of responsibility, a lot of content to build. But Carly just trusted us and was like, "You guys just build it." And I think that really helps in something innovative like VR, where there isn't established precedents and norms and standards to lean back on. You have to let your team just find their way, make mistakes. Like, it's okay. Like, continue to build, and that's something I think you've done really, really well.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I definitely always defer to Bill on that. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I was in a headset. You know, I mean, Bill probably has been in one 10 times today. So I know my subject matter experts, and yeah, absolutely trust Bill and trusted you, John, and look where we are. It worked out.
And look where we are. And that first meeting, you and I met. Well, it was the funny story. We've already told this on the Pulse, but like, you logged in and I saw your avatar and I was like, "You're from Madison College, aren't you? I'm right down the road. We should be working together." But so you came in and we had a meeting, but then you immediately, the first thing you were like, Bill has to see this,
Yeah.
because you knew that like otherwise you're going to be the one trying to build this program. But like Bill, he was teaching a paramedic class and has experience with technology. He's excited about it. You identified your evangelist immediately, brought Bill in, and Bill was like, "I'll use it today," and the rest
Yep.
is history, right? And
Yep.
again, I kind of circle back on as hard as it is for us to admit, and I'm sure Rick would agree, having done a lot of the demos that we do, it's really hard to say no to a college that's coming to you and they're frantic, they're short staffed, they have a very big problem, and they're looking for solutions. And we have to sort of be like, if you're not going to put the investment of having somebody that can help you build this in there, it's like Rick said in the beginning of the call, if you start your training sessions and you've got a pile of unopened boxes of quests and PCs that haven't even been unboxed yet, and you're
Yep.
starting your training now and you're a director of the nursing program at a large community college, you shouldn't be opening those
Right.
boxes. Like,
Exactly.
what are you doing here at 5 o'clock in the morning before a meeting because you got to get these all set up? Like, it's
Yeah.
not that hard to do. You just need some help, and you need somebody that can help you get those things set up. And it's not just the technical setup, but it's also being able to communicate with people, like the way Bill does when someone comes into the XR Center. Bill knows how to talk the talk and how to articulate the value, and it's such an important role to have. So again,
Absolutely.
full circle. If you don't have somebody like that, it's again, you're looking at, it's a huge expense already to build an XR Center. I shouldn't say it's a huge expense, but it's an investment,
It's an
and
investment. Yeah.
you need to build. You need to identify the space, buy the hardware, and now you've got to
Cheaper
have
than mannequins.
fact. That's right. It's still cheaper than a mannequin, right? We're not taking
Oh
anything
yeah.
away from the mannequins. We're not competing with them, but just saying it is
Yeah.
cheaper than a mannequin. But yeah, it's you have to have somebody that can help facilitate that at this point. But the thing to keep in mind, though, I think, and Madison College is a great example of this, is if you make that investment, it's not easy. It's not, it's very challenging to get that. But if you get there, now you've got a program like Madison College has 30 some programs using it, and it's building every time. It's only if even a couple weeks from now, I know I'll talk to you and it'll be, "Oh, we just added another program and we just are using another thing and we built a new scene in Acadicus and we're training dental and it's always something new and exciting." And I think
Hmm.
that's what you get. That's your return on that investment, is now the program is up and running, and it's seeing that success, and you're identifying those gaps, and you have solutions, and it's kind of building that momentum. So I think that's fantastic.
Well, it's
And I
completely
guess,
A lot
changed
of
my life. I mean,
yeah.
I if you told me 10 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I wouldn't even know what you were talking about. So yeah, it's completely changed my life, and I tell people every day, every time I have a demo, I have anybody coming in, I mention how this all started, and that without Carly coming to me and saying, "Hey, come take a look at this," none of this happens for me, and I'm thankful every day that this has happened to me. So because of all the really awesome stuff I get to do, and even when I'm stressed out, even when I'm like, "Oh my God, there's so much going on that I have to try to take care of," I'm still looking at it as like, this. I still have one of the greatest jobs on the face of the planet. I really do. And I love the fact that Carly she kind of stands beside me in it. She's never like been, like what are you doing and why aren't you doing, it's always been like we like together in this, and that's one of the best leadership qualities that I think a person can have. I have worked for leaders who are the lead from behind, right? And like, go, you do this and do it now. And what are you doing? And then I've had the leaders that lead from the front, and it's way better to lead from the front, you know. And those are the kind of leaders that I like working for. And I told Carly years ago, we were talking on the phone, and I told her, I said, you have me. So just like whatever we're doing and wherever we're going, let's go there. So
That's it. That's excellent.
A lot
And
of
I
our
guess
impulses, John, are focused on, what are those keys to success? Making VR a recognized successful resource in your organization. And I think when you look at, Carly and Bill, I see these two very important parts of the picture, right? Which is the strategic element, right? That Carly largely represents, but you wear both hats. And then Bill on that tactical end, right? Where he's like where the rubber meets the road and kind of making it work.
Yeah.
But you really do need both of those, right? You need that administrative facing, you know, evangelist out there with programs that don't know what you're talking about, and the person back who's putting headsets on people and showing them how to actually use it day in, day out. So that strategic and that tactical, has to work hand in glove. And I think that's been a key to your success there at Madison.
Yeah.
yeah, the two together, absolutely. We talked about if we get on a call with a nursing school and they're saying they don't have a bill or they're not willing to get somebody to that's a big red flag, and we really should almost just sort of like come back when you do have that, because it's not gonna work otherwise. But I would say the same thing is true if you don't have a Carly. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I get on those calls and I'm talking about, well, we've got our entire faculty is excited about this and we've decided that we want to move forward. But if they don't have somebody that knows how to operationalize that and how to work with budgets and how to secure grants and how to identify partners, like that is a very, very important role. And if you don't have somebody that's going to do that, sure, you might make it work in your one program and it might have some success, but you're missing the bigger picture. And I think that's the key is that
Yeah.
kind of eagle vision that you get from that operational perspective that allows you to move things around and achieve that success in a way that somebody who's maybe like right in the middle of it doesn't see that bigger picture. So I think that's really important. I just wanted to end. We're getting to the top of the hour, but one of my favorite questions to always ask is, so all obstacles are removed going forward, right? So just imagine there's no obstacles going forward. What does the XR Center look like? I usually say 5 years, but I'm going to say three, just because things are changing so fast. 5 years, I have no idea, but 3 years from now, all obstacles are removed. Carly, what do you think? What does the XR Center look like? Is there an XR Center? Is it like or does everybody have headsets in their backpacks now? Like what's going on with XR at Madison College in 3 years?
Oh gosh, that's a good question because 3 years ago I wouldn't have thought that we'd be here. Um,
you and me both.
yeah, right. Well, hopefully we get that second classroom, so hopefully we are doubled in size by then. And I would just love to see the XR Center just bustling, just activity all day, every day. I mean, that would be ideal. Bill and I have talked about this. We really want to get other students in. We really, want to get the excitement about virtual reality, not just in the classroom, but also just amongst our student body. I mean, we have very nice equipment. Like like most students can't afford to
Mhm.
have this stuff at home. So I want to see
Mhm.
it used and just constantly busy. That would be my hope in 3 years. How about you, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it as sort of a center for innovation,
Yeah.
like where people are coming to, yes, obviously we're continuing to do virtual reality and augmented reality and all of that. I'd like to expand a little bit more into augmented reality, but
Yes.
I'd like to see that. And then, and people want to come and talk innovation, or they want to think about innovation, or they want to think about using something in their classroom that they haven't used before. My big thing is to help to quell fears when people come in and they're afraid, especially in my faculty, right? I say my faculty, I don't know. It's just because I look at them as kind of like family, right? Like this is my VR family, and so when it comes to the faculty, when they want to use something in their class that they're concerned about, I don't care. It could be like Carly and I started off working on Classroom Live. So they want to use more classroom live in their classroom, and they want to increase the amount of technology that they use, or they want to use technology in a different way, or something like that. They want to teach for the 21st century. I want to quell that fear, and I love the XR Center as being a place for that. My door is always open at the XR Center. Sometimes when I'm eating lunch, I put it in a meeting and close the door. But otherwise, the door is open, and people come in and will ask questions and get help and all of that. And I think that's a great way to go. I would also like to see at some point we start doing, a little bit more development stuff, a little bit more like, hey, we have this idea, we have this thing that we're thinking about, and how could we work with building this in Engage, or maybe how could we work with building this on one of these 360 video platforms, and can we shoot more 360 video and stuff like that? And I think that would be great. I think that would be great.
And what you just said too, Bill, just made me think what I would love to see more is getting students in working with us, building content with us, developing things with us. We've got brilliant students and faculty at this college, and I would love to bring more people to the table, cast a wider net. And Bill and I don't know everything, and I think it'd be just great to get other ideas and brains in the room, especially giving our students opportunities, build those resumes, right? Like, I mean, this technology isn't going anywhere, so I think that would be great to get more student involvement in the running of the XR Center, the deploying of simulations, the building of content. That's definitely on our radar.
Yeah. And I'll throw
I
one
think
more
that's
thing
great.
in there.
I've been surprised sometimes that I've not seen more college technical programs latch into this, right? I mean, they're teaching them these programming languages. They're teaching them Unity, which is kind of one of the huge programming platforms that you build VR applications with. And then even beyond that, just being somebody that can operate in that space alone, right? That it becomes a class and a program. What is VR and how does it work and why does it work and how can it be used? And we were doing that 20 years ago with PCs and laptops, and learning Office and learning how to do PowerPoint. And I think nowadays, I think you're exactly right, Bill. I mean, we need to be teaching students that this is a computing platform. I mean, all of these major, Meta, Google, Apple, they are all pushing hard that spatial computing is the next thing that we're going to be doing, computing with in the future.
Yeah, right? Imagine the respiratory therapy instructor comes in and says, "Hey, I would really like to see this, be able to be utilized in VR." And so we go to some of our students, and as a project for their class that they can add to their resume, they're developing something that we can then take and put into our platform, whether it be Acadicus or we put it into another platform. And now that's added in. Now we've got that. We can all use it. We can use it for the future. The student gained off of it. The instructor gained off of it. The XR Center gained off of it. Everybody gained off of this. And we continue to move forward. And I see that as being a really great avenue for expansion for the XR Center.
Yeah.
Very well said. This is a great episode. Another one of my favorites. I think this is, there's a lot of good stuff in here for sure. And I really appreciate your time sharing with us. Thanks for coming back, Carly. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Hopefully we'll have another episode again, and we'll see how close we get to those 3-year visions as we go forward. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Put it on the calendar. We'll check back in 3 years.
Yeah.
Check back in. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you all very much. We'll see you on the virtual frontier. Thanks for joining Simulation Pulse, and we'll see you at the next one.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
Yep.